oh, we can negate as human beings. I think that this is quite a difference with animals. As animals don't have this freedom we have to negate, not the freedom to reject in the way we reject, not the freedom to suppress like we are able to suppress. And our ability to negate, our ability to averse, is something which brings us in a lot of trouble. So one thing which is different between us and animals is our imagination. Our imagination is strongly developed if we compare it to other life on this planet. And a part of the difficulty of our imagination is that we are able to imagine that things are different as they really are. That means that we're able to negate our experience of reality in the moment and are able to imagine, to pretend that it's different. And based on this, we build what is called our separate self, our ego structures. If there is a difficulty to accept how we derive ourselves in the moment, we can pretend to be different. For instance, we feel insecure in a certain situation. And to feel insecure means basically, that everybody can see that we are very insecure, and that's horrible. Because we have a lot of beliefs around insecurity. To be insecure is not good. To feel insecure, when you feel insecure, you're kind of a loser. So we don't want to be show to other people that we're insecure. So what we do is that we repress or suppress our insecurity, and we pretend to be very secure of ourselves, to be sure about everything. So this is an act of negation. We negate part of our experience in the moment. And what we do is that we kind of pretend something else, and we get attached to what we pretend. So we get attached to being absolutely sure about things, being not insecure. It means we also grasp this as how we are, how we want to be, how we strive to be. And by grasping and by getting attached, we start to basically identify with the reality we build as being the good reality. This is who we are. This is what we want to be. So if you ask a person, who are you? Could you tell a little bit about yourself? So most people will bring forward things they strive to be, or things they are in a fight with. They try to negate, to get rid of. And this is a little bit difficult because to negate something, to try to get rid of something, is a little bit against the laws of the universe. So when you look to the first law of the universe, almost everything is possible, but We cannot undo. And this is important to understand. We cannot undo. What happened, happened. And somewhere deep inside ourselves, we are totally aware of this, that we cannot undo. Because what happened in the past happened. But we can pretend as if it never happened. We can ignore it. We can negate it. We can suppress it. And we're able to build a different reality as if it never happened. But it did happen. So here is a problem. So to be able to negate something, what is needed is that we isolate part of our reality. We isolate part of ourselves. It's not allowed to be part of our experience. So it never happened. So that means that a part of our living experience, because when you look to an experience, it's alive. Part of our living experience is banned. Is not allowed to be there. And when part of our living experience is banned, basically what we do is that we draw it, we put it out of space and time. For an experience to come forward, it needs space and it needs time. So we draw it out of space and time. It's not alive anymore. It cannot move forward. It's stuck. But if something is stuck, it stays the same forever. Nothing is moving. Because for everything to move, to grow, to expand, to transform, to change, it needs space and time. So that means if we negate something, then what is happening is that the same thing, the moment it comes into our conscious awareness, and we are not really able to negate, so in certain situations, this experience is triggered and it comes back as the same experience again and again and again and again. Like a repeating experience, a repeating dream. So say that we are negating rejection. And we negate rejection because the pain of being rejected is unbearable. If the pain of rejection is unbearable, then that means that we try to kind of overcome rejection as much as we can. So we try to form ourselves in a way that we will not be rejected, that we are okay. At the same time, then we are looking for rejection all the time. And the whole experience of rejection is not able to transform. So we basically live and act from something which cannot transform. We stay in the same patterns again and again and again. Every time when we get rejected, it's too much. We want to die. We get into a depression. Life is not worth living anymore. We give up. We lay in bed. And then after a while, the boredom and the emptiness and the depression is so bad that we start again with a new way, a new way to express, a new friendship, maybe, a new relationship, new work. To move around the same circle again. There's hope. Now it will be okay. Now it will be good. Now, and then something happens. We lose our courage. We feel rejected, or even the threat of rejection is sometimes even enough, or we project rejection, and everything collapses again. So we circle around the same pain again and again and again. The pain we negated. And this is just one example. I hope I'm clear in it. But we have a lot of things in our lives we circle around again and again and again. And this circling around, having the same experience again and again and again, but not being able, never going to the experience itself. Working very hard to overcome this experience. And feeling it's a total failure when this experience is touched. So this circles we all go through in our life and lifetimes sometimes is called karma. So karma basically is based on negation, rejection, suppression of experience which was there in the past. So when we look to negation, so this is part of a duality. So the other side of the duality is attachment. And of course, as we negate, we are attached. If we are attached, we negate. It becomes an either-or situation. If we negate something, we don't want it to be. It's not allowed. It's not allowed to exist. It has to be out of existence. At the same time, we're attached to it. Otherwise, we couldn't keep it out of existence. So maybe we are attached to the opposite of what we negate. But the opposite of what we negate has the other side in it as well. I'll try to explain this. So we have the tendency to divide the world between good and bad in our minds. So if we create good, we cannot create good without creating bad. If everything is good, good doesn't exist. If everything is bad, bad doesn't exist. It is a polarity. So above is not possible without below. If everything is in the same level, if everything is above, there is no above. Above only can exist when there is below. So we create good and bad. If we negate bad, We are attached to good. But good in itself brings bad. Am I confusing? Good. So that means that we attached to both good and bad. That we are attached to being in polarities. It's either this or that. It's either good or it's bad. Either we are accepted or we are rejected. Either I am guilty or you are guilty. That's a little bit how it works. So we come in polarity inside ourselves, but also polarity between us and the world. And we get lost in it. It becomes our reality. It's either this or that. And when you look into it, it's like an endless struggle. An endless struggle based, when you look in the background, on negation. Negation of one part of the polarity. Negation of a certain experience we place into one part of the polarity. This is a bad experience. This never happened. If negation goes with attachment, so the non-dual quality which is behind it is celebration. Celebration of every experience. Celebration of what is. Like the non-dual experience behind good and bad is our ability to discern. And when we are in the ability to discern, we are able to contain both good and bad. We know that some things are good and some things are bad, and they can change all the time. We can embrace both. If we are in a position where we celebrate life, then we can both embrace attachment and negation. We move through it. Negation is attachment, attachment is negation. So we don't grasp anymore and we don't averse anymore, but we can pick something up, which is a kind of grasping, look at it, experience it, and put it down again in its proper place. So the whole idea behind non-dual therapy is to find ourselves back into our true nature. And this true nature is so much connected with the non-dual qualities. So what's needed for this is partly to let go of our addiction to negate, to understand that we are not able to negate, to undo. That we are not able to change what's happened. that things which happened in our lives, sometimes we were not able to process because it was too difficult to process, too much. And that's okay. There is a kind of defense that we say, okay, we cannot process this now, we will process this later. But it's important to understand that we have to process it at a certain moment when time is ripe. And not from an outer authority, but from an inner authority when the need is there. When life brings the same situation forward again, because things which are not processed are cycling, are touched again and again and again, till we master it, till we are able to contain the experience. If we are able to contain the experience, we master it. And then it's happening again, but it's not bothering us anymore. That's a little bit what Diana told. There was this situation where she felt abused in a period, and now she's looking different at it, and she's not bothered by it anymore. So that's an experience which is mastered. It's integrated, it's transformed. It's not negated anymore. We are not attached to it anymore. It's just happening. And it's not defining us or getting us in a situation where we kind of are drawn into behavior in which we lose our freedom. But the non-dual quality behind it in the depth is the ability to celebrate life in all its different colors. Again, sometimes life is extremely pleasant and blissful, and sometimes life is extremely painful. And the ability to celebrate through both sides, to be able to really enjoy life to the deepest in all different colors. Which is difficult because we are so programmed not to enjoy the pain, not to enjoy the suffering. But bliss doesn't, it's like the colors, good and bad. And, when we look to what's happening in our nerve system, happening in our brain, and in our brain, and to the neuropeptides, suffering or fear and bliss are so close together. It's more how we derive it. There is now no feeling of liberation without a contraction. There is no gaining without loss. So all the experiences in life are moving between, something which is pleasant and something which is a little bit less pleasant. And often it comes together. And when it comes together, when the pleasant and the less pleasant is coming together, then what is born, if we are able to celebrate, is a feeling of ecstasy. Painful bliss. When we go to the depth of love sometimes, we can sometimes love so deeply that it becomes painful. And this is the most blissful way to love. We all have experiences with this, I hope, at least once or twice in your life, where you feel that you love something so deeply, a child or a husband or a brother, a sister, or a plant or an animal or whatever, that we love something so deeply that it's almost painful. And then it becomes kind of ecstatic. So that brings us very close to the celebration of life, where both things are there. So if there is a blockage on our ability to celebrate life, like every child is celebrating life, then we start to move into patterns of negation and attachment. And this is very, very basic, because there we start to create ruptures into what was one. We start to create a separate self. We start to create different areas inside ourselves, different personas. Different states of being. So when we are out and we are partying, we're very happy, and we are such a good person, and everybody has to laugh about us, and we are great. And the moment we come home, another persona is coming forward, and we kind of, we collapse and we are heavy and we feel totally alone and lonely, not able to connect at all. No satisfaction, no fulfillment from what we were before. It's a mask. And we all know this more or less. These different states we move in between. And we love to be, with people, and and we have a good time, and we are humoristic, and we hate to be alone. We hate to come home. We hate that person. That's not the right person. That's not who I really want to be. But secretly, it's not who I really want to be, but secretly we believe that this person who is down, who's isolated, who is lonely, is more us as the one, everybody laughs about and is such a good friend. So in a way, we are more attached to the lonely, depressed part of ourselves. We try to negate.